And welcome back to The Way Forward. I'm Eddie Francis as we continue the 504 Influencers series. And I am pleased to be joined by Bianca Cook. She is the founder of the Nola Collective. How are you, Bianca? How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you, Eddie?
I'm doing well. All right, I have a confession to make before we start, Bianca.
Okay, what's your
So
confession?
I told my wife the idea of the 504 Influencers thing. This sister's from North Carolina, okay? And when I tell you she knows more about New Orleans influencers than I do.
I love this.
And so she goes, "Oh, you got to look up the Nola Collective." And I was like, "Cool, I will do that." So
I'm glad she helped out. I appreciate her.
yes, I mean,
Yeah.
listen, she actually loves the local influencer community. And so I am more than pleased to have you on and to talk about why you do what you do. So let's start with the basic stuff because inquiring minds want to know. Let's get to know you. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? How did you start your career? Give us the whole deal.
I would say I feel like it's a long story, and I'm only 32, but I am from LaPlace, Louisiana. So I always start off when people are like, "Are you from New Orleans?" No, I still have a 985 number. I'm from LaPlace. I went to East St. John High School. I give all the things just because like I want to give people the perspective like, no, I'm not from New Orleans, but definitely appreciate New Orleans. Obviously love the city. So that's why I do what I do. I went to undergrad at UL Lafayette, and then I got my nursing degree and then got my RN license. So I was working in Lafayette, knew I wanted to pretty much go into the business side of healthcare or just go into business in general, which is funny because I did never thought I would be doing so much entrepreneurial work like I do now.
Hmm.
But back then, 22-year-old me was like, hey, let me get my Master of Business Administration instead of going for another healthcare, graduate degree. So literally took only 6 months off and then ended up doing my MBA program, which I finished in about a year and a half. And then I also knew I wanted to go into, like I said, the business side of healthcare. So I knew I wanted to apply for administrative fellowships, which ironically I ended up getting the Ochsner Health Fellowship, which brought me back to New Orleans area. So I had applied all over. And if you know anything about administrative fellowships, I applied, all major hospitals have them. So Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, DC, and I ended up getting New Orleans. So it brought me back. And I was trying to leave the state, but clearly God had other plans for me. So that's a little quick. That's
Every
a
time I get out, they pull me back in.
pulls me back. And so from there, I have matriculated through the system. I still have my day job. I always tell people that I'm still a 9 to 5 girly and still have the NOLA Collective. But I have worked with a lot of executive leaders. I work currently as director of strategy and a lot of system initiatives that people are familiar with when it comes to our health outcomes and health and community health work. But I have done everything from work with our executive team through COVID. So I was a part of the team helping a lot of the reopening of New Orleans, a lot of the things with the vaccine and our, our diversity inclusion strategy, matriculating into our community health centers. So working in the one off of Bullard, have been a manager over that. So I've worked in New Orleans East. I've worked on the West Bank, the one that is in Gretna, and then also opened the one in Howell Place and North Baton Rouge. So I am literally I feel like I know so much about all anything along I-10. I know a lot about from, obviously New Orleans all the way to Lafayette. And then even in North Louisiana, I've had to do some work in there. So bringing that all back to, I still have, a lot to do with like just the whole system, but then also, of course, I ended up starting this media platform. So
Mhm.
I I started about 3 years ago, right after the pandemic, just with the whole idea of like, okay, there has to be more for us to do in New Orleans, especially coming out of the pandemic. So I give all the context of like my background and like really working with the city and Mayor Contrell's team, and it was NOLA BA as well, and then the Ochsner project management team to really, work a lot with the city and all the work groups that we had to do. And you remember that time, it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a
absolutely,
crazy
yeah.
time. And a few years later in 2023, early 2023, I think the city was still recovering. The city was still
Yeah.
trying to like reopen. Restaurants weren't open that were open before. Businesses, business owners were still struggling. And it was just like I saw the gap in just the media landscape in New Orleans and saw opportunity to really start posting the variety of things happening. So
Mhm.
everything from the art scene to nightlife is what I cover.
That is really cool. And where'd you get your MBA?
The University of Texas at Tyler.
Oh, okay. So hook 'em horns. Okay,
Hey,
got
look.
it.
I hadn't even stepped on campus. It was all online.
Shh, that's okay. That's okay. You're still
Yeah.
representing.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so, 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 tell us a little bit more about why you started the Nola Collective.
Yeah, so I always give this like precursor, and I feel like this is like my first taste of like what I knew I wanted to do as far as like a business. So we had a healthcare executive conference that came in like October of 2022. So me and my friend Kiana Terrell, she is the founder of Nola Miles Club. She may be somebody you're interviewing during the series, but we were fellows together, and we had the healthcare executive conference coming down to New Orleans. It travels every year. So we just instinctively was like, we have to show people, like what's going on in New Orleans. This is before the Nola Collective. This is before me even have the concept of the Nola Collective. Long story short, ended up, I curated a list for the week of what people should do. And we had hundreds of young professionals following us around the city because of this list. She ended up throwing a party during one of the days. It was madness for us to be just like, corporate healthcare traditional and like doing all these things, which probably has led both of us to different entrepreneurial ventures with the Nola Collective and No Miles Club. So I do want to give that as like my very first taste of like, okay, well, people are listening to me. I've always been a connector. The Nola Collective, the actual page started as a food page. Most people don't even know that. It was called the Food Date Diaries. And so a few months later, when, more things were open, it was like March 1st of 2023. I was on the phone with my best friend. And then the thought really came to me of like, I'm tired of just like not knowing like what else is out there for just like things to do and like coming to New Orleans or coming back to New Orleans. I was 25, now I'm like 29 at time. So it's like as a little bit older young professional, like where do I go? And like, because I'm the connector in the group, everybody's like, Bianca, what's going on this weekend? What are we doing? And I was like, well, you know what? People, obviously it worked in October 2022. Let me just flip this food page, call it the Nola Collective. It really came to me and like that flyer. Technically, my icon and the very first post is like AI post. Most people
Hmm.
think it's like real, real logo. It is not. Like I really, when I say the idea came to me and I just did it. Literally, just listening to my thoughts, like and just like created the AI a logo and flyer, and then like that post I have on my page, I've never edited. So that very first post literally says the mission of what it is of just I want people to be able to find, say, a festival during the day and a fun party at night, or maybe they want to go to a wellness event and they want to go to an art gallery opening. I wanted more of a page for people to find that there are just so many talent. I knew there were so many talented people in New Orleans. I want you to be able to find what they're doing. I always say like I'm a purpose promoter in a sense because I work with so many people that are coming to me with these ideas of like they want to build community. And I feel like there wasn't a central place for people to even find their community. We do have a lot, everybody has mixed feelings. We do have a lot of people that have moved to New Orleans and are transplants, but we do have people who are locals who kind of are stuck in their same, where the same places that they're used to going. So I feel like in my mind, they're like two ends of almost the same spectrum because they're both kind of stuck in not knowing what to do. And then I feel like a lot of people in the middle were kind of like, okay, well, I want to try new things. So I feel like I satisfy all groups, people who have just moved here or have been here their whole lives, or the people who are just visiting and want to find more of a local experience. So I feel like that's really the purpose of why I started it and kind of a little tidbit of like why it got started, just because we're just fed up. We're just like, we are tired just not knowing. And I was like, I'm good at researching. I was like, if I could pull things together and like post it. So it really just started as what to do on the weekend and now has evolved into this whole platform, just, highlighting, local artists to I just did like collab with like a wellness event. Like it was like
Mhm.
sound bowl. Like then it's like the No Miles Club's usually on there or like a Sunday supper. So I talk about all type of stuff. So
Yeah.
hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. And so there, so I have two questions. I feel like I'm being kind of messy, but I really
No.
do have two questions. Nola, does anybody local give you grief about NOLA instead of the New Orleans or the 504
Mhm.
collective? Has anybody said, because I see these conversations happening, like Threads seems to be the battleground for this conversation. And it's funny because they're these people who are trying to die on this hill that if you say NOLA, you can't be from New Orleans,
Yeah.
or it started after Katrina. And those of us who are older, we're like, no, it didn't. And so, does anybody give you grief about NOLA, using NOLA instead of New Orleans?
Actually, not really. I think
Okay,
people give me
good.
a pass because of the value that my page gives them, to be honest. But I do see the discourse. And I think, like, the way I actually changed, like, the actual first post on the page, I did capitalize NOLA and, like, I guess, New Orleans, Louisiana way. But, like, I've always wanted it, like, now how I do it, I do NOLA as, like, a name, like, the only capital N and then OLA. So, but no,
I
people
did
really
notice that. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it.
So it really was, I think I told you it's an AI logo. I've just gotten a real logo. So originally when I put it in, it's automatically capitalized the NOLA. So
So here's my other question again, and I'm really not trying to be messy, but I'm genuinely
yeah.
curious, especially as an influencer. Do we give transplants too much grief?
I think so. So I fall in the middle because, like, I
Yeah,
grew up in LaPlace. I was always, as soon as I got a car, I was back and forth to New Orleans all the
yeah,
time. Like, I'm
yeah.
15, 16. We're packing the car up for Mardi Gras and we're under the bridge. Like, so I have a different, I'm kind of in the middle of, like, I've always been in New Orleans. Like, we're only 30 minutes away, like in LaPlace.
Hmm.
So but I also have a lot of friends that are transplants and I have a lot of people that are native New Orleanians. I think this is my opinion. I do think we give transplants too much flack. Now, for the transplant side, I think transplants that come in and want to change the culture, say like they go buy a house in Treme, you have to understand there's second lines that are going to pass by your house. Like
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
can't be that person, like the bubble man. He's upset, I don't know if you saw the bubble fest and like all that.
yeah. I saw
I
that.
feel like there are a group of transplants that come in and don't appreciate or understand the culture that they're coming into. But I have friends like this that have come in and really embraced New Orleans. Cause like
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't really embrace New Orleans and the culture, you're gonna hate it here. Like there is no ifs and or buts about it. But the
Yes.
people who are coming in and trying to really change things to make it a more traditional city, no, those people we need to keep giving them slack. Like we need to keep calling them out. But the people who are coming in and just really want to help improve the city or just be embraced by the culture or appreciate the culture in that way. I think those people we need to still nurture that we need people to come into the city to survive as a city. That might be a hot take for some people, but we're still a city that we need to keep bringing people in versus all these people leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I mean, I am a person who says, look at what the data tell you about having a diverse environment. And while in the perfect world, New Orleans would be run by native New Orleanians, those of us who have been blah, blah, blah. In a perfect world, you do need some outside voices to help you with your blind spot. And I know, listen, I grew up in Treme, so I
Yes.
know for my fellow natives, I know that is hard for some of them to hear, and they go, no, no, because I'm like, dude, we do have blind spots. We're
Yeah.
not perfect. Um, so you're listening to The Way Forward. I'm Eddie Francis, and we're talking to Bianca Cook. She is the founder of the Nola Collective. And what inspires you to produce the content still?
Oh, I mean, I feel like New Orleans is its own world. So it's like I have endless amount of reasons and just like people to highlight. I just feel like showcasing the talent and the beauty of New Orleans is the why I still keep posting, either the clips from shows like or festivals or just what these different experiences look like. Cause I do feel like, and another reason why I started it was people have this very outside New Orleans has this very stereotypical like thoughts and view of what New Orleans is, right? We see it on the campaigns that are, the national campaigns and stuff of like they only highlight maybe the brass band or like they only highlight the Bourbon Street or the Frenchman Street. Like most people, when you ask them that aren't from here and probably have not visited, they kind of can only tell you about like a few things: beignets,
Oh,
Bourbon Street,
yeah,
and maybe
it's
they'll
always the
know
I
that
got
we
drunk
have
on Bourbon Street one
yeah,
story. Yeah,
yes. And maybe they may talk about like we know we have jazz music or like the brass band. Like, I love the brass band, but like
yeah.
still like I think my purpose in the drive is to really show people that there's so many different segments and subcultures in New Orleans, and it's just like that is why I do what I do, because it's just like, hey, like you could go to a late night house music party, like that's not just in New York.
Oh,
Like you could go to a gallery opening by like a black owned gallery and like go, it's a black artist, and then like there's somebody hosting a mixer for, other creatives. Like I post niche things that like you really aren't gonna like unless you find my page, like you're really not gonna find. And like that's through different relationship building that I have those, people that come to me like, hey, like this is my idea. Like I've been supporting certain ideas before they even posted or had an event. So it's just like we built those relationships and like we're all collectively like building this community together. So some people, I was actually just meeting with Twiggity, and he likes to say, yeah, he likes to say like, we're in a Renaissance era in New Orleans, and especially with the creative community. And I think more people need to understand that.
that is so funny. His name has come up twice. So last week, I had Danielle Miller of Good News on.
Okay, good. Yeah,
She
I know
interviewed his
Danielle.
dad, Pastor Barrier, and then she brought Antiquity up, and now you bring up Antiquity, and I know him because he's my frat brother. I know him because he was
Yeah,
initiated at Loyola like I was, and so that is so funny that his name has come up 2 weeks in a row.
I
And
know. We just had a
Antoine,
meeting
I'm
together.
not being a hater, brother. I'm not being a hater. Good for
I will
you.
tell
Do
him
your
after
thing.
this. He's in the
Yeah.
conference room. So,
Oh man, that is so cool. So I have got to know um of the content that you've looked at, the events, the places, all of that stuff. Can you think of one place where you have said to yourself, maybe, man, this is really cool. I really wish more people saw this. Can you think of any place or any event or anything like that?
I would say for the events, places are harder because I feel like the crowd goes, and I'll say a place, and everybody will know which place I'm saying later. But for events, I do want more people to understand just all the different. I feel like social communities that are building,
Mm.
and like I have one in mind of like what Prosper Jones. I don't know if he's on your list too. I just finished meeting with him as well. Prosper Jones has done a great job of like always wanting to highlight the arts, so like traditional
Mm.
arts, like
Hmm.
and bringing younger people into it and making it accessible. So like he has a brand called Art Above the Law, and so between his brand, my brand, the Nola Collective, Balance Society, Sam Wells, we have started to do art walks. So which is
Oh
not anything
man.
new. Julia Street has all these art districts have always done art
Hmm.
walks on the first Saturday. It's just people kind of didn't know either it was there or that it's accessible to us. so, so
That is the part. That is the part. Like
yeah,
I can tell you somebody who grew up in the heart of the city. There were these unspoken things. And one of
yes.
those unspoken things was, well, don't go to that because, quite frankly, that's a bunch of white people. Don't go here because that's a bunch of white people. You brought up house. When I was growing up, it was a no. It was a big no to go to any place in New Orleans where they were playing house if you were straight. I'm just flat out honest. I love house. And
Yeah.
so a bunch of friends of mine and I, we were just like, well, we want to go check out the house set. And people would say stuff like, nah, man, don't you do it. Don't you go. And we're just like, no, we're going, it's dope music. We love the music. We just want to go, we want to go vibe. That's all we're trying to do. And so it's really it's great to hear you bring that up in that way that we're getting pulled in because it's our city too. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's great to hear that people are getting pulled in. More of us are getting pulled into things like art walks. And again, there are folks like my wife who are not from New Orleans. They ask about stuff like that.
Yeah, they do. And that's where, the good transplants are like, yeah, like we do this, like we want to see more of it. And so honestly, I think the first one we did, and we'll do more throughout the year, but we really started, I think we already had did some last year. It was more so like a smaller friend group. And then we ended up hosting it. I think we did March and April. We didn't do May, but like for March, I think it was like 40 people showed up and we had a mixer beforehand at Shaw Art. So a Black artist. So his gallery on, I think it's Carondelet. And then that was about 40 people showed up. People loved it. Like I think the post I did, so this is all recent. I think the post I did a crazy amazing. And then we're like, okay, well, let's do it for April. Cause like, again, this is nothing new. We did not invent art walks. Like we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
just posting this to bring community. And that is the purpose of my page of like, there are things that happen in the city that is just like people just want a buddy to go with.
yep,
And so that's where the beauty comes in of like sometimes we're not necessarily creating something new, which I will talk about different series that are amazing that people need to check out. But yeah, so the second time we did it, I would say we probably had close to 90 to 100 people show up for the
wow,
second one. We had to break people up into three groups. It was a lot of people. We ended up doing the mixer at Mr. Wolf, so another Black owned business, and another person. Wayne supports the arts amazingly. Like, so I think like there's different little things like that happen that are like more people need to know that those things are happening versus like, and it's it's not and it's like not to down it, but like it's not just a party. It's like, okay, you're coming meet new people. We had couples come, we had people come by themselves, we had friend groups come, but we had so many people connect and meet so many new people. And I think in a city like New Orleans where everybody's like, oh, well, I already know this person, like the city's so small, I'm never gonna meet new people. Like I always encourage people, like I have a weekly newsletter that goes out and I always say like find something new. Cause like in my mind, like
mm-hmm.
I see people, people get stuck in going to the same places. So it's like go somewhere new, like try something else. Like if you're used to going to more of like wellness events, try some of the live music that we have, or like go to a comedy show. Like you'll meet different groups of people. So I always say that one as a good example. And we'll definitely continue it throughout the year. Maybe you're not probably not every month, but like we'll like let people know when that happens. But that's like a good example. But other things I always tell people support the artists and I'll say artists because like all of them are artists, whether they're DJs or like different musicians, like support their events. Like there are a lot of people, as we named Antwiggity, he has amazing series with the energy and
Yeah,
David's dance for the summer. But then like we have other things like as we talk about house music, Set the Flow is amazing house music. Like I would say series, they pretty much go almost every week or every other week in different places around New Orleans and bring in a variety of different people. And if you talk to their team, like they will tell you like, Black people are definitely involved in house music. Like we are
mhm.
part of that. And then other people, as I mentioned, Prosper, he has like alt soul, which is more alternative R&B type, which he's literally had Leon Thomas come to alt soul. Like those are the type of things, those little niche moments that, my page is able to highlight that most of the time you don't see in traditional media because they aren't picking it up.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So, final word from you as an influencer. What is your dream for future New Orleans?
my dream for future New Orleans is more so, I'll say external. Like I want New Orleans as a city to be at the table more with like business conversations. I feel like New Orleans is always talk for instead of like people from New Orleans at those tables. And that could be in the music industry. That could be when we're talking about culture, or like it's so many different like conversations that happens in New Orleans is either left out of it, or like we're talking being talked for by somebody who isn't necessarily living in the city or
Mhm.
a advocate of the city. So I'll say that.
Oh man, that is beautiful. Bianca Cook, she is the founder of the Nola Collective. Thank you so much for joining me on the way forward.
Thank you for having me. This was a great conversation. I wish we could talk longer.